Welcome to another episode of the Warlocker Show.
What an intro.
Yeah, that's pretty
I
cool.
love
It's the
that.
first time I've been able to hear it.
Oh, really? Oh, I love that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's funny. So I always forget. I remember it starting with Tom, but it starts with you in the bow and arrow. Damn, he did such a good job with it. It looks so good.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, the way he was able to capture the video like that and get it to edit, because you know, you and I both know about AI, and it's so difficult. With all these
It's
different
so
platforms that you
hard.
have to like piece it from here and piece it over here, and videos are so difficult. But it's coming around. It looks really good, and AI is only getting better. And the video is only going to get better, and we'll be able to tweak it here and there. But I think it's pretty solid as it is for like a homegrown
Cool,
podcast. It's
Yeah,
come
it's
a
pretty
long
cool.
way, and yeah. But be sure to check us out every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, like it says in the intro video. And if you are listening, 7:30 p.m. every week, unless there is something that happens. But every week, 7:30 Pacific Standard Time, we do go live, and that is the Warlocker Show. This is also the Warlocker Show, but it's the interview portion, formerly known as War Stories. So welcome everybody. We don't really have an intro or like what we're supposed to say at the beginning. We haven't really figured out. So welcome. I'm Chuck.
I'm Fuzzy. I know. So this is the one that had to be serious. I can't I can't do my usual
Right.
my usual shtick. But yeah, happy to be here and happy to help any of you. So
yeah, awesome. So this week we have Barry, and I'm going to add Barry to the stage real quick. Barry, how you doing?
Doing well, guys. How are you?
Great.
I don't know if I should call it like Mr. Black. Mr. Black already sounds like something out of a book already. You know what I'm saying? It's like
it doesn't sound real.
I'm telling you, it sounds like one of those. Like I'm telling you, like, are you sure this is like a character?
It's in the movie Men in Black. They had an Agent Black there, so
right.
That's your real name, right?
No, that's my real name.
Allegedly.
Oh, okay. Because it's like in all those. So I'll go back to Clay. We had Clay on. He's an author. Barry's also an author of Hazardous Devices, the memoir of an FBI bomb technician, accountant, and sniper, because that's who Barry Black is. But and that's his book. We'll get into it later. But that's Barry Black. That's who we have on today. But hearing your name reminds me of, we had another author on. His name's Clay. He's a veteran and was in special forces and all that stuff. And he wrote 3 books. And in one of his books, it's like Mr. Smiths or the Smiths, because they're all like CIA or dark ops dudes who go around and just murk people. Your name reminds me of that because it's Barry Black. It doesn't, or the HBO show Barry.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's out there now. So
yeah.
Hey Chuck, do you guys ever see that A-Team movie remake? Like where all the operatives are all lynched, right? I feel like Barry Black is like one of many blacks, throughout
right
throughout a period of time.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, man. It's like I mean, allegedly, I know nothing. I'm just here. I'm just a simple podcast guy and an artist. I'm here for comic relief. I know nothing at all.
Right.
By the way, your resume. Okay, not only an author now, obviously, but bomb tech, and then a sniper. I gotta ask, like, just before we even get started down there, how'd you get started and so on and so forth. Like, now for the general public, were you born with balls of steel, or over time did they develop? Because my God,
it's from childhood. I wanted to be in the FBI, and accounting was the fastest way in. This was the 80s. Banks were failing, the oil bust. And I was in engineering, but I was in lockstep with the recruiter since I was in high school. And they said, look, we're not hiring engineers. We're hiring attorneys and accountants. And I did not want to spend 3 years in law school. So I changed majors, changed degrees, actually changed universities, and got the accounting degree with the sole purpose of trying to get in the bureau. So it was a means to an end.
Now, you went, like you said, you went to college for something else, or you had the path. You had the path of going to the FBI. You went to school. You changed your majors. Went to accounting. in order to get into the path of the FBI. Did you do much of the accounting work in the FBI? Like when you first got in, meaning you had to pay your dues before like shifting into
Before you
other
do the cool
stuff?
stuff. Yeah, Fuzzy. So
Right. Yeah, I
really,
guess that's what I'm trying to get to. Yeah.
it was a specialty. Getting in
Uh-huh.
as an accountant allowed me to get
Sure.
in really, really young because they waived some other work requirement kind of requirements. So yeah, I got in when I was 24, and being an
Wow.
accountant, yeah, I was assigned to a financial crimes task force. So
Hmm.
bankruptcy fraud, bank fraud, money laundering, all that real sexy stuff that they don't make movies about. Some of these cases
That's
were 4 and 5 years long. So yeah, I did a good bit of white collar work.
You know, it's
isn't that
funny
how
that
they
you
got
mentioned
that
that.
mobster?
Say again.
That and back in the day, that's how they got that mobster. What's his name? I know Thomas would know his name.
Oh, Al Capone.
Al
Yeah, Al
Capone.
Capone.
Right.
That's how they
Yeah.
snagged him.
Yeah. It took an
I was
accountant to get
actually
Al Capone. Right. So
I was actually imagining Barry being more like Tom Hanks and like Now You See Me, you know what I'm saying? Like chasing down like the
Mm.
bank, like the check fraud. I could just see him like,
that's right.
oh, it was like nothing. I was just behind a desk. Next, thing you know, he's like jet setting to like Switzerland and then over to like Germany trying to like track people down. It's like, oh, I was just behind a desk, just like tracking people and just trying to catch people in the act. Behind the scenes, like, I just got a whole team of trying to hunt down people.
Yeah. Well,
Allegedly,
we had
allegedly, allegedly.
even the white collar. I had one case was on Unsolved Mysteries, the old TV show with Robert Stack.
Oh,
Shut
really?
up.
No
Yeah.
way.
So now
Were you
it turns
portrayed?
out.
Were you portrayed at all?
Well, I was in the studio, so when they show
Uh-huh.
people listening to the callers calling in, so that was
Yeah,
my
yeah.
cameo on Unsolved Mysteries.
Okay. Oh, I mean that's pretty cool. That's an iconic show. Can you talk
Yeah.
about which? Well, I guess you can because it was like they made an episode about it, right? So,
Oh yeah.
can you give
So
us a brief synopsis on that one?
sure. Yeah, is a seven-figure case in Oklahoma City. These two
Mhm.
con men, came to town, hired a bunch of college-age kids to run this is a fake business, but they did a really good job of staying in the shadows. So the only people the victims saw were these college kids, and only one of them saw the two main actors, and
Hmm.
we had no idea who they were. So turns out, went to Unsolved Mysteries, got a bunch of leads. One guy's true name, we were talking about names a minute ago. His true name was Frederick Krueger. So I've arrested Freddy Krueger.
No
And
way. That's
Hey,
so awesome.
yeah,
that's awesome.
I would print out
Oh,
that
man,
rap
no-
sheet and frame it.
and no kidding.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
face sheet.
So he and the other guy did not want to go to trial together because they were going to point their fingers at one another. But got them both convicted. One guy, he was sentenced to prison, but he escaped. So then the U.S. Marshals were looking for him. They found
Wow.
him. There's a shootout, a car chase. They catch him. Yeah. So white collar can be exciting.
Man,
Wow.
this went like Bonnie and Clyde real quick.
Well, some of the
I did
biggest
not-
criminals were caught in white collar crimes, dude.
Yeah. They all need money. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was later on the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and everybody needs money, whether it's narco terrorists or traffickers, whatever it may be. Everybody needs that money. That's why
So
Bitcoin's so popular now.
right, and so just to go back to the beginning real quick, you basically got into this because you've always wanted to do it as a kid. You get into it. Accountant's the fastest way to get into it. You've always had a heart for service. Get into it, and now you're an accountant and all that good stuff. And did this help you get into like what you got into later, because you got to work with some pretty cool task force, I'm assuming, because like you said just now, everybody needs money. Narco terrorists need money, terrorists need money, and cartels are narco terrorists, and then any type of big gangs or drugs, they need money. So dope, money, guns, it all goes together. So it's the main three food groups of
Right.
like law enforcement of major crimes is dope, money, and guns. Like if they're together, like there's all three are always together. Dope, money, and
Right.
guns, right?
Yeah.
So did you get it? Did that like propel you into what you ended up doing?
Chuck, mine was a pretty strange jump from the white collar stuff. You guys.
He's
are
like,
too
so
young to
no.
remember. Well, the old TV show SWAT, you may remember the at least the
Yeah.
music.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Yeah, Fuzzy's got it.
Oh yeah.
So the coolest job on that show were the snipers. So in the FBI, you're on probation
Oh
Now
my
it's
gosh.
2 years. It was 1 year for me back in the day.
So now you're turning into Ben Affleck.
Well, so there's a slippery slope, Chuck. When I was eligible, when I got off probation, I approached the SWAT team leader, who was a highly decorated former Green Beret, and I said, "Hey, I understand there's a couple of positions opening on the SWAT team. I'd like to try out." And he smiled and nodded, said, "Aren't you an accountant?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I am, but there's always the but. If you tell me what I need to do, I think I can do it, because that's what I'd really like to try." And he said, "You know what? I'll help you. That can do kind of spirit thing." So tried out and made the team, and it was a lot more exciting than bankruptcy fraud. We arrested some pretty rough people and flew around in helicopters. It was much more like TV and movies. But then I found another little challenge. The sniper team leader was a nationally recognized competitive marksman. He was a former Navy officer, really squared away. All these people were very squared away people. And there was a slot or two opening on the sniper team. All right, now or never. So I talked to this guy, and same thing. He said, "If that's what you want to do, I'll help you." And he did. And we shot a lot. We became very good friends. So then tryouts came, and I made the team. And my first major deployment as a sniper was the Branch Davidian standoff in Waco, Texas.
Right. Because you were a part of a lot of the
Whoa.
stuff, the Branch Davidian standoff in Waco, the Oklahoma City bombing, and then 9/11 and all that good stuff. So you've been a part of a lot of it. So back to Marco's original statement, you have balls of steel, because an accountant who walks up to the team leader of SWAT and goes, "I think I can do that. Pick me up. Let me try
I
out."
was
And they're like,
yeah, I was pretty
okay.
young and maybe a little naive, but there's no getting without trying, right?
And this is SWAT. This is specifically SWAT for the FBI, right? This isn't SWAT at a local.
The
Right.
HRT, right?
Noel, so
Right.
HRT is a hyper specialized national FBI SWAT team, the hostage rescue team.
Oh
They
god.
are in Quantico. They're SF, Delta Force, Navy SEAL type operators. So every division in the field has a SWAT team, an FBI SWAT team. But like at Waco, when that turned into that 51-day standoff,
Right.
we have regional response. So we went down immediately to support our Waco team. But then when it turned into a thing, HRT flew out, and then we support HRT in an instance like that.
If I can go just, I know we just a little bit back and forth, but
Yeah.
if I can go back just a little bit
Sure.
before that, right? For the average person, what does like FBI training, like the school, not the hiring process, but like, okay, they go, cool, we see your degree, we see what we need, you have what we need, we're gonna go ahead and start bringing you in. What's that next step like? Like, obviously, there's like, you're an officer, you go to an academy. When you're in the military, you go to basic, and then you go from there. So, what does that look like in a very generalized, way? What does that look like for the FBI?
Great question, Fuzzy. So the FBI Academy is at Quantico, Virginia. The FBI has a great relationship with the military throughout the nation, and our academy is on the Quantico base. So when I went through, it was 16 weeks. It's kind of ebbed and flowed. At one point, it was as long as 27. But
Wow.
the morning I walked in to the first day, I was 24 years old, and there were, no kidding, Green Berets, Army Rangers, Marine Corps officers, trial litigators, like grown up real CPAs with all this experience, and me. And it was a little daunting, but I made it, and I was determined to kind of do my best to get through. And your question about the training, it's top tier. If I used to shoot a little bit anyway, coming from the South, we would hunt and target shoot, but we had a real estate agent in our new agents class, never shot
Wow.
before. So it's soup to nuts. They teach you what you need to know. And and then the training continues. I was still in training just before I left 31 years later.
Wow. Yeah,
Wow.
it's continuous training, because you have to grow and continually train and hone your skills, because if you don't use it, you lose it. Just like
Exactly.
you qualify in the academy, you learn how to shoot. Um, but I don't know how the FBI does it, which I would be curious to find out. I know for my agency, we would qualify every other month, and then once a year we do shotgun, and then once a year we do force option simulation, where you run through multiple scenarios for don't shoot, and then have to articulate the reason why you shot. And that really kept us on our toes that way, because the agency I came from, they get into quite a bit of police shootings, right? So you got to kind of prepare for it, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when,
Right.
So I would be curious to know, how often did you guys do that training? How often did you guys shoot and do continuous training like that? And was it just like, hey, a couple quarterly, we're going to go out and we're going to shoot, and then we're going to do a couple classrooms? Or what did that training look like, that continuous training look like?
So in the office, we had a FATS, a simulator for the shoot, don't shoot kind of scenarios. But we trained every agent is armed, obviously, and was required to shoot quarterly, and it would be hundreds and hundreds of rounds at each iteration, handguns, long guns, sub guns, and then the special teams, like SWAT team, would train much more regularly than that, and then like the sniper team, in addition to the regular SWAT training, would do long gun training as well.
But you guys are also hitting the books all the time, right? You guys obviously this. I can only assume, and obviously, Grandpa said about assuming, right? It makes an ass out of you and me. But I can only assume that because of the constant changing and evolving needs of investigation, and how crimes change as far as like technology and what resources we'll call it the other side, right? The other side is coming up with, that you guys are constantly like training in like mentally as well. Also, there's got to be a lot of like teaching and a lot of books, meaning like classroom time as well, right? Is that sound about right? Or
That's exactly right, Fuzzy. We would have when the laws change, like when money laundering
sure,
became like a structuring type of thing. That was a relatively new law. So we would go back to Quantico, or they would send instructors out, and you learn how to apply. It
okay,
was Title 1956 or 1957, depending on how you charge it. But yeah, there's always constant learning then. And, I would carry as many as 30 cases at a time, 20 to 30
oh,
cases, bank fraud, bankruptcy fraud, money laundering. And back then, the SWAT team was a collateral duty. So we would do the extra stuff in
mhm.
addition to keeping those cases
Wow,
posted and trying to put bad guys in jail, which was why that transition became necessary after all. The world changed, and
right,
yeah, my path took a little turn, but it was something I wanted to do. I really enjoyed my job.
bro. I got like
Wow.
problems like juggling 8 different bills. You got 30 cases, and
Dude, I know,
wow,
yeah. Wow, that's a lot, because I came from, so I kind of have something similar happening to me now, kind of how you got into the FBI, kind of where I'm currently at now, kind of how I got into what I'm doing, but it's not what I want to do. It's just how I got my foot in the door. And then it's gonna change into something else here very soon, I'm hoping.
Good.
But I came from law enforcement, where I'm juggling like, a full stack of calls, but I don't have to. It's not like carrying a caseload, right? Where I'm following that case every day, right? Where I'm, doing follow up investigations or interviews, and then it pauses. Then I go work this one, and then it pauses. Then I work this one, and then it pauses. Then I come back to this one, because maybe we got some actionable intelligence or information, and now we're working it again. I didn't, on patrol, I didn't really have to do that. I had to juggle a lot of different things, right?
Right.
And now, when I'm getting into currently what I'm doing,
Yeah.
I'm juggling fucking. I went from like Marco, like juggling like 8 bills that I have on
Mhm.
my plate, right? It wasn't bills, but it was other things,
Right, of
to
course.
carrying a load of like, I don't know, 50 to 100 things that I'm doing per month, plus special projects that I'm doing getting thrown on me. So I know exactly how like how you're feeling when you're doing all this. And that must have been very stressful. And how did you manage that caseload, um, and be proficient at it, I guess, to where you're able to do solid, good police work at the same time? Because like 30 is a lot. How do
30
you
is a
keep
lot.
track of all that?
Well, it would come and go. And what I'll throw in there is this was before we had computers. So I had a file in my
That's a
desk drawer
file. Yeah.
that listed all 30 cases. And the requirement then was you had to have something in every file every 30 days. So, these cases, as I said, were protracted. So you might serve a subpoena and not get records for 45 days. So that case was on the back burner. And then you go bring the next one up to bat and then serve a search warrant. And then you got to analyze all those records. So it's just, prioritizing which little fire was up next. But if you get really, really tired of one bankruptcy fraud case, you can just put it aside and look at your next bank fraud or wire fraud or money laundering case. But it was enough to kind of keep it interesting for sure.
I guess the fresh eyes is what would get me. I think about it. It's like the fresh perspective into every single one, and not trying to look at them all the same. And try to find like a pattern.
That must be difficult.
Yeah.
Well, it's each one. Unlike your work, Chuck, or patrol work, it's your baby. You get assigned that case, and it's yours until you either can't prove it or somebody's in jail.
Yeah, I mean, we carried some of those cases, but it wasn't like you. Like there was some stuff that was personal that we kept in contact with, that we kept working.
Right.
Just because it was personal.
To that end, my record is 3. I arrested the same person 3 times. Yeah. And the next, that was the hat trick. But then there was a female I arrested her twice. And the second time I got her, I was putting handcuffs on her, and she called me by name and said, "So do they just send you after me all the time?" I was like, yeah, that's just me. So yeah, we developed relationships, I guess, over time.
That's hilarious. And these are long cases, probably.
Oh yeah, very long. Yeah.
Wow.
And what she reminded me is they will remember you if you're putting cuffs on them a lot longer than you may remember them. So I've stepped off the curb at a 7-Eleven one time, and as you know, it's just situational awareness. You kind of look around, and I was walking in my car, and this man said, "Hello, Mr. Black." And I looked. He goes, "You don't remember me?" And he's in a Red Cross van, and the Red Cross has fed me at a lot of crises over the years. I said, "You're going to have to give me a little context." He goes, "You put me in prison 7 years ago. This is my community service job, and I just wanted to say hello." I was like, well, good luck with that. So, yeah.
Wow. I bet that instant pucker factor kicked in, and you're like, "Where's my gun?"
Well, and you're on the job all the time, 24/7. But and I was in this city for 31 years. We would get moved around a lot, but just again, it was a beautiful thing. The timing of my career was such that I got to spend the entire 31 years in one city. And this is not, there was a million people here or so, but you get to know the good guys and the bad guys that way.
Right. Wow.
I couldn't imagine having the same case with, not the same case, but the same person 3 times. At the 3rd time, I look at them like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, and they were convicted each time, went to prison each time, but just literally life of crime,
Oh, man. Is there, I got to ask, is there like a case where it was just so over the top ridiculous, almost like a Laurel and Hardy, almost like, how do you even get this far with this, where it's almost comical, if you will? Did you ever have anything like that?
So the woman I arrested multiple times, she was a polygamist. So that was issues in other states. She had a bunch of different husbands and would basically steal from them, but then use their identities and credit card fraud, check fraud, which crossed state lines. And that's how we got involved. But she was a diminutive lady, a small stature. And I was looking for her, and there was already a state warrant outstanding. We didn't have a federal warrant yet, but I knew if I could get her in state custody, then at least I would know where she is until we could finish the federal case. So one of the victims said, "Yeah, we let her live in my mansion." There's some beautiful old homes from the oil days here in Oklahoma City. And these people were overseas, and this lady, ostensibly was her decorator or whatever the scam was. So I sat across the street with binoculars before sunup, and sure enough, I see her passing by the window. Well, I recognized her because I had arrested her a few times already. So I called the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, the state police, and said, "Hey, your fugitive is at this house, 123 Main Street. Come and grab her because I need her too." So they showed up with the local police. OSBI was there, knock on the door. Of course, she doesn't come. They break out a window, do the search, and they said she's not here. Well, that's kind of on me at this point. I was like, guys, I know you searched thoroughly, but she's here. You mind
Right.
if we kind of go it one more time? He said, well, okay. So she was so small, they found her hiding in a pile of dirty laundry in the closet. So they just hadn't gone through the dirty laundry yet. But
Wow.
people don't want to go to jail. They'll hide about anywhere.
Talk about like the craziest shit. Like, so I used to hear stories all the time about, I have family grew up in law enforcement and friends, family that I really looked up to that grew up in law enforcement. And they were telling me all the crazy places they found people hiding because they would be working a specialized unit, like, let's say, canine, where they would bring in the dog to find people. And they're like, I know this motherfucker's here, but we don't know. And then they'd be searching, or they'd be searching for dope. And they'd be like, hey, it's clear, go. And the dog would be searching, and all of a sudden the dog would alert. And the dog would alert on a suspect with dope in its pocket, hiding in a bed.
Yeah.
Like in a bed, not on top of a bed, not
Right.
underneath a bed, in the fucking bed.
Like in the mattress.
Like in the mattress, in the box spring, like hollowed out, like just curled up in the corner where, because coppers look under the bed real quick. Okay, cool, it's clear. But in the very back, you can't see. And so they would tell me all these stories. So every time I would search a house, I would get my gun. I would put the gun underneath the bed. So if someone shoots me or hurts me, I'm pulling that trigger, right? And then I would put my knee on the ground and I would look underneath and make sure I hit the wall and scan the wall, and then pop those beds up, because all the stories that I've always heard were, hey, this person was found hiding here, and we would check everything. And I've found people hiding in crazy spots, like in beds. I've found people hiding, because when you don't want to go to jail, it's the ultimate game of hide and seek, right?
Right. Exactly.
I've found people hiding in closets. I thought I was gonna blow some dude's head off with a freaking slug. My first, I think it was like my first month and a half on the job.
Wow.
And we raided a gang den and for a casita. And it was an MS-13 casita, and I got startled. I almost pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
I'd have fucking plastered that dude's brains all in that little tiny ass closet, and he had a gun, so he's lucky he didn't die. But it was crazy because you find people hiding, this small and tiny people hide in the crazy spots. But that's the first time I've ever heard of someone hiding in a laundry bin.
Pile of clothes. Our team in Houston engaged an armed subject. They ended up having to kill him, but they searched the house and found another guy hiding in the dryer, like inside the clothes dryer. Now that's a contortionist that can fit in the dryer.
Dude, that's crazy.
So I think I told you, Chuck. I may have mentioned in the other podcast. I have a client that's a freaking client of mine that's a marshal. And I had asked him that question. I'm like, what is the obviously what you do is you do the manhunt stuff, right? So where is like the wackiest, silliest, whatever, like spot that you've ever had somebody hide from you, And he said, we hit the house. We knew that he was there somewhere. Our informants came through. We searched the whole house. We searched the property. And it's one of those properties that just has like, it's out in the desert and it just has a whole bunch of junk everywhere, right? So they searched. They couldn't find anything. They're just sitting there trying to figure out where this guy went, if he, took off in the woods or wherever he went to. And they're just gathering as much intel and information and evidence as they can. They're in the property for about an hour and a half. And finally, out of nowhere, the guy pops up like a jack-in-the-box from an old washing machine that was in the back. And he had been cramping so bad. His legs and thighs have been cramping so bad that he just couldn't take it anymore. And they hit everywhere else, and they just could not find him. And finally, he had to give himself up because he just couldn't take it anymore.
That's where canines are wonderful tools. We use them for explosives, narcotics, people, tracking. Fantastic.
Yeah. So, yeah, and like, man, that's the one gripe I have after retiring from law enforcement. that I never got to do canine. I never got to do some of the cool shit that I wanted to do, and that's always been a big sore subject on my plate because I love the dogs. I love it when you hear someone get bit. It brings joy to my heart. And when you see that dog tear apart human flesh, you're like, "Fuck yeah, dude, that's awesome."
I've never
Oh,
done this.
brings me back to finding someone hiding in a crazy spot. Me and my partner were listening to the scan, or not the scanner, but our radio, and we were boarding this doing division, and we were waiting for it to come to our area, and it was a 211 suspect there now, which is robbery suspect, and they just robbed a convenience store and then they ran. Police go in pursuit. Airships overhead, track them to a freaking apartment complex. Airship comes overhead. Everyone's setting up the perimeter. They're calling Metro Canine out. Canine gets out there with the bite dogs, and they're like, "Hey, I need additional units." I'm like, "Dude, I'm already here." I was like, "Show me code 6," because I already started creeping in the division because I was like, "We're going to this. They're gonna call, and if they don't, we're like a hop, skip, and a jump away from our border." And because there's a neighboring division, we get there, and I'm like, "Hey, I want to be on the search party," and they're like, "Let's go," because I'm from outside of the division. I have no skin in the game. They're like, "Awesome, you can be an operator." I'm like, "Sweet." And me and my partner were the only two from patrol. We get to go in with on the search with Metro K9 and some of the other Metro officers to do a sweep of the whole location. And we're going with the dog and we're searching everything. And we come to an area and we're searching everything. It's a laundromat in there because the apartments they have a central laundromat because they don't have laundry services inside of the building in each apartment. It's an old one. And so we searched and they were like, "Fuck, we can't find shit." And like there's a broken water main in there. Water's going everywhere because the suspect tried to climb up something, snap the water main off. So you hear the whole time. It's just there's like 2 inches of water, 3 inches of water on the ground. And we're like, "Fuck, where is this guy?" The dog is alerting, but there's water on the ground. So the dog is getting, the scent's getting thrown off. We're like, "Fuck." And we look over and we see these all of the water main closets, and those water main closets are for like the water meters. They're only like this deep, they're very narrow, but they're wide. And I'm like, "No way can he be in there." And me and my partner, we start clearing. We're like, "Hey, we'll just clear it. We'll clean it up for you." Like, "All right, we're gonna hold this corner." And so they're holding the corner, and me and my partner are going like this, like opening. I'm like, "Partner, open," and I'm going like this. All of a sudden, my partner opens one, and I'm this close, right? Because it's like, "Oh, do you really think someone's in there?" No. And so we're complacent, and all of a sudden my guns are like 6 inches away from the opening. He opens it, and I'm like, "Fuck, suspect!" And I back up. I'm like, "Suspect, suspect, suspect!" And I'm like, "Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands." All of a sudden, that fucking dog just bolts, nails this dude, and it's like a scene from like, was it Magic Mike, where he fucking hits the ground and the water sprays in slow motion, right? And it goes out with the amber lighting. Well, it was like that, except the dog is tearing this dude's thigh apart.
So mixed Magic Mike with Cujo is what you're saying. Got it.
So it went from real sensual to real violent and nasty and bloody. Wow. And there's just fucking water spraying everywhere. Everything's in slow-mo because you're like, "Oh fuck, this dude's armed," right? And this dog nails him. And he got his whole thigh just filleted apart. But then I look and I was like, "There's no fucking way that dude was in there." It was literally 6 inches deep, maybe 8 inches deep.
So trust the dogs, right? They're good. We had a guy, right. He had escaped, a murderer had escaped from a county jail in rural Oklahoma, and he'd stolen a car. Well, the car needs fuel. He was running out of gas, so he pulls into this rural kind of country store gas place, gets out, tries to rob it. The lady in the store goes, "No, get out." And she chases him back to his car. He had already gassed up, follows him in her pickup, and is calling out locations on the CB radio to the sheriff. Well, then he crashes out in a bar ditch in the middle of the night in this giant field. So the sheriff knew the terrain. He was going to need more people. So we did, as mutual aid, our team went out, highway patrol team went out, and we're shoulder to shoulder, going in the woods, down the river bottom. But at the command post, which is just a couple of fence rows, this one fresh dog, a giant, beautiful German Shepherd, he got out and starts pulling towards the hedgerow. Well, the handler thought he just had to, do his business. He's like, no, we're going to work, going to work. Never found the guy. So sunup comes, we do our team rotation. Only restaurant in town is called Biscuit Hill. So there were 200 cops in Biscuit Hill. Phone rings. Cashier says, this lady wants to talk to a cop. So our team leader took the call. This man gave up to her in her kitchen window, sitting down in her flower bed. When he was interviewed, he said, I was among all these cops, and this one German Shepherd almost came nose to nose, and I thought I was going to get shot. So he was right there with us, and we didn't know. But the dog, so trust the dog.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I mean, the crazy thing was that dog was hit, and he was like, whoa, whoa. They're like, no, come on, keep going.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, let's clean this up real quick. He was right there. I was like, dude.
And what's also funny is the lady knew to call Biscuit Hill instead of the police department. So.
Oh, I didn't catch that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Hey, so I got to ask you, Barry, how are the biscuits?
They were great. Yeah. Biscuits and gravy. It's called Biscuit Hill for a reason.
If it's got biscuit in the name, it's got to be good.
You got to go.
All right. So obviously we want to get to the book. So how did you? All right, so you're doing all this crazy FBI Tom Hanks chasing people over, even though you want to play it down, and then you go and you become a sniper, and you join the sniper team, and then do some more badassery. So that's level 2 of badassery, right? All right, so let's go ahead and then you say, wait, hold my beer, let me just ramp this up. So now let's talk about you making the decision to be like, hey, I'm already this level cool, or I can just, handle business from this many, hundreds, if not, hundreds and hundreds of yards away. Let me get up close and personal to the real deal Holyfield and start snipping wires. So talk to me about that decision on how you went from, this is cool, but I'm going to step it up one level cooler.
Again, right place, right time. Most of us in this business, Chuck's a former Marine. You want to see if you can, that can I do this? So it was April 19th of 93, the fire at the Branch Davidian compound. It was still smoldering, but our team was on the compound waiting for the Texas Rangers to come in for transparency. Mm-hmm. And a couple of guys came up that I didn't recognize. So I said, hang on, who are you? And they said, well, we're FBI bomb technicians. Well, I've been in the Bureau for 5 years, and I'd never heard of FBI bomb technicians. So I said, well, what do you do? Why are you here? They said, well, there could be IEDs still left in the rubble or a component. What? Yeah. So I said, well, why aren't you here? I haven't heard of this before. And they said, well, there are only about 200 on the planet at any one time. It's a very small group. And the FBI trains and certifies all the military bomb techs non-military bomb techs in the country.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Danny Hart was LAPD bomb tech, great guy. Yeah. We're still in touch. So I said, wait, so the FBI certifies all the non-military techs. Is that it? They said, oh no, we travel around the world, blow stuff up. I'm like, all right, hang on. How can I do that? And the guy, just like the team leader with the SWAT, he goes, well, it's pretty small. There's only a couple of hundred, but if it's something you want to try, I'll help you. And he did, and I got selected for the Hazardous Devices School down at Redstone, which is an Army post. So again, we're very closely tied to our military partners. And finished, we call it bomb school. Finished bomb school in April of '94. And
how long did that take?
It's 6 weeks is the basic.
Oh wow! Yeah. 6 weeks, and then you're snipping wires. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Well, it's a long 6 weeks. So
yes, I'm sure. I'm long, strenuous. Yes,
I'm used to like the Marine Corps EOD school where it's like
26 weeks.
It's very, very, very long, and it's crazy.
So that gets you your card, and then obviously there's training after, and so our state and local partners go back every 3 years. FBI bomb techs go back annually, and then have other training in between. But 53 weeks after I became a bomb technician is when McVeigh blew up the Murrah building in Oklahoma City. So that was my first. So like Waco was the first big sniper case. The Oklahoma City bombing was the first big bombing case.
Wow.
You're just there for all of it, man.
It was crazy.
And that's and here's what I caught. 5 years. Did I catch that right? You were in the FBI for 5 years. you've already
For,
moved up to doing sniper, or were you a sniper for 5 years and then heard about the demolition?
so I joined the Bureau in 88. I was on
Yeah,
probation for a year. So in
yeah.
89, I got on the SWAT team. Then I went
Hmm.
to sniper school. And so there was a
Okay, I'm
period of
talking about.
time when I was juggling the
Yeah.
white collar stuff, the sniper stuff, and the bomb thing.
Hmm.
But that's unsustainable. So, I kind of let the white collar part go, and then was given the option stay on with the tactical portion or kind of live with the explosives part. And it was new and shiny. And terrorism was on the uptick, and explosives are the
Hmm.
favorite tools of terrorists. So, um, yeah, I ended up on the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and then with some extra training, the Weapons of Mass Destruction coordinator. So I had they call it a Q clearance for nuclear secrets and a cosmic clearance for NATO chemical nuclear secrets, and I was an instructor for NATO and traveled as a subject matter expert for the State Department. Got to work on every continent but Antarctica. Uh, it was crazy. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
So,
What?
so I gotta ask this thing. Hold on, I gotta ask
Wow.
the same question. Okay, first of all, now I'm looking at my life and I'm like, well, I'm a tattoo artist. That's cool. Not
It is
anymore.
cool.
Wow. Um, so okay, so same kind of question. Again, just in a different part, a different chapter in your life, a little bit different. So now, if you can tell me, or if you can remember, think, what is the craziest situation you were in that wound up being like a dud, right? So like all of a sudden all this hype, there's all this, so on and so forth, and then like, someone just forgot their suitcase at LAX.
So,
Mm.
kind of crazy story. We were in LA, Chuck, for the Democrat convention, and
Okay.
suspicious package outside the delegates' hotel.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's going to get some attention. We actually shut the subway down at one point during that. Uh, there were rioters, anarchists were there. It was kind of a crazy time, but that turned out to literally be a box of kittens. It was a box of cats that somebody had left. So that was kind of anticlimactic. And we work with our state and local partners and our military partners, and
Yeah.
the FBI had provided radiation detection equipment.
Hmm.
So one of the techs was at the post office, which is a federal facility, and his detection it just told you there's radiation. It didn't tell you what kind.
Right.
Okay.
It's like a
Sure.
beeper.
Something like a beeper, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
then we had on my truck kind of the next level, which could identify the particular isotope, and then if it turned into like going to be a problem, then we called in some other people with cooler stuff. But what turned out, the handrail for the handicap access
Hmm.
had been made with oil filled pipe, and a tool they use in the oil
Oh.
field is radioactive. They run it's called a pig. They run a pig through it to see if their pipe is cracked. So the pipe was radioactive.
Oh
Who
wow.
knew? So yeah,
Oh,
so
slowly poisoning people. The handicap.
isn't that crazy? Yeah, I mean it
Oh
was
my
very low
God.
level, but that's how sensitive those
Sure.
tools are.
That's crazy.
Well, that's crazy. And
Oh
then
man.
at the end of the day, you get closer and closer, and then you just hear this, meow, meow, and then realize it's
Oh,
a
yeah,
bunch of kittens.
yeah, bag of cats, really
So how long did you
crazy.
do? So how long
Wow.
did you do that for?
So
And
I
by the way,
finished.
who leaves a bag of cats? By the way, who leaves a freaking
It
bag
was
of
sad.
cats?
Yeah, we took care of them actually. Yeah, it was a
Okay,
little,
good.
little box of kittens. So I became a bomb technician in '94.
Hmm.
Oklahoma City bombing happened in '95,
Right.
and then as the world kind of went crazy, I joined the Joint Terrorism Task Force and what we call the Worldwide Rapid Deployment Team.
Mhm.
And that's how I got hooked up with State Department and NATO. So then I exclusively did explosives and counterterrorism for really since about '96 forward to 2019 when I punched out.
20. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
See that for a long.
Oh
And
wow.
what made now? Obviously, you're out. You're done. You've been all over the world. And one day you say, you know what? I'm gonna write a book. So how did that come about?
Well, yeah, I told you earlier I wanted to be an FBI agent since I was a kid. Ephraim
Sure.
Zimbalist
Yeah.
Jr. and all of that. So all my school friends, they wanted to be rock stars or brain surgeons or jet pilots. But I was just going to be the FBI agent. But one of my very best friends from childhood, when I got my letter to Quantico,
Mhm.
she said, "Look, I know you too well. You're going to forget everything. So you need to write this stuff down. You're going to do cool stuff. You need to write it down." So over the years, back of napkins, envelopes, scratches of paper. And when I traveled, by then we had laptops. So I'd have a 30-hour trip from Kathmandu or Mogadishu or wherever I had been. So I just peck it out on a little laptop and stuck it in a drawer. And then I teach at a university now, and a publishing company contacted me and said, "Would you think about writing a forensic science textbook?" I said, "Well,
Okay.
that sounds hard, and I'm retired, but I do have this compilation of stories, some kind of wacky stuff I did in the FBI." And it took a few months of kind of back and forth, but they published it, and I got a contract in the mail, and they said, "We usually don't do this kind of book, but yeah, we'll do this." So it was a real blessing. It just fell in my lap. I'm very fortunate.
Wow, that's awesome. Wow.
Now, for
That's crazy.
for anybody who's interested in your book, actually, before we get into that. So, your writing process. Obviously, you're traveling all over. You've listened to the advice of an old friend. Thank you, old friend. I hope you still talk to that person or kept in touch
Yep.
with them. Because, they said, "Hey, I know you're going to forget all this stuff. You're going to do all this crazy stuff." So you start pecking away. I personally I like the 3 finger hunt and peck technique. Um, so you start writing all this stuff down. Um, Now, your book is it situation by situation? Is it stories? There are a bunch of different a collection of stories, individual stories. Is it character based, almost fiction, but with factual? Like, what can the reader expect with picking this up?
So it's kind of start to finish,
Hmm.
how I got in the bureau, and then from accountant to sniper to bomb tech. After Crimea was invaded by the Russians,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, I was sent to work with our special forces and the Ukrainian special forces in Ukraine to help them defeat the Russians. But while you're over there, it's when in Rome. So it's a little bit of travel, a little bit of food. We were in Peru, and who knew they eat guinea pigs in Peru? So that's dinner. You go out for some
They
guinea.
do.
Um,
They
Go to the
do.
local PetSmart and grab a guinea pig.
I was in Africa 5 different times: north, south, east,
Holy
and part of
shit.
Mogadishu. And you're eating crocodile and springbok and some things I'd never heard of. And so it's a little bit of foodie, it's a little bit of travel.
Mhm.
I was teaching an underwater post blast school with the Australian Navy, and we were down in Melbourne, which is sort of to the south.
Right.
Mhm.
But I pulled out a map, and we were only like this far from the Great Barrier Reef. So I told one of the Aussies, I said, "Hey, this is a diving school. I can't get this close and not dive the Great Barrier Reef." And he said, "That's 2,000 miles from here." I said, "But I'm never going to be closer than I am right now." So class was over on a Friday. We flew to Cairns Friday night, had an early boat Saturday, waited our 24-hour soak time, flew back Sunday night, and we're back in class on Monday. So
No
you got to make
way.
the most of it.
Yeah,
So
you only
it's
live
those,
once.
Jeez.
yeah. I mean, we
Wow.
rode elephants in Cambodia and camels in the desert in the empty quarter. So it's cases, but it's not a specific case. It's 30 years of odd cases like we've talked about, plus the food and the travel, and it's sort of a crazy ride, really.
How long were you traveling from like all these different places after you got to I'm assuming all the traveling was the Joint Terrorism Task Force plus being a bomb instructor and in bomb tech and all that stuff. So how long were you doing all that traveling in that time span? Because you got to bomb school or bomb tech pretty quickly.
Right. Well, and again, I was just fortunate.
Yeah.
That oddly enough, the white collar thing had me on the road some. One of the international money laundering cases, the office was set up in Bermuda. The records were in the Turks and Caicos Islands. The money was in Panama. So, we work with, it's called a mutual legal assistance treaty with these certain countries, but we don't have any authority. So we have to get permission through the embassy and their version of the embassy. But I can't really interview somebody. So I get paired up with local law enforcement. Then we go interview the bad guys. So I did a good bit of traveling on the white collar part, but it really did take off with once I was a master instructor and a master bomb technician. I taught large vehicle bomb post blast, underwater post blast, sensitive site exploitation for terrorist strongholds, and it was fascinating. I loved my work, but Buzzy, I thought you were going there. We get thrown out at age 57. We're put out to pasture at 57. Really? Yeah, so that's where the gray hair came from. Now they offered me an extension. You can usually maybe stay another year or so, but 31 years, and I'd been to Waco and the Oklahoma City bombing and 9/11, the Olympic bombings in '96. Been to Mogadishu and Tunisia and India and Thailand. It was time for me to go fishing or play golf or something. So
I'm over here still tripping that he just snuck in there, that he was basically like master diver certified somewhere in the mix of all this amazing.
Yeah.
Like, and by the way, not only am I cutting and snipping these, the red and blue, the red and green wires, and I'm doing it on the water. Okay, so like I'm gonna go look at myself in the mirror as soon as we're done with this podcast and be like, what are you doing? Like, what have you done?
Mark,
that's great.
What I loved about it the most was the people. The people I got to work with, top tier operators, dedicated military, or law enforcement. I was a hazmat technician as well, so the firefighters, the caliber of people I got to spend every day with was just remarkable. Wow. And that's why I kept doing it. I'm still in touch with dog handlers from the Air Force. I started a combat flight orientation course for military dogs. One of the kennel masters was telling me they get deployed without the dogs being used to helicopter flight.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a contact with the Army Guard that flew Chinooks and Blackhawks. Mm-hmm. Well, they're flying on empty just to get the pilot hours up. So I ended up talking to a couple of colonels and on up the chain. I said, look, it's not going to cost anybody anything. It's going to help the dog handlers and the canines. Everybody. So we got it for free, and we would do Nap of the Earth flights in Blackhawks, and the dogs got acclimated, and it was, it was great. And I got paid to do it. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's one of the best ways to acclimate a dog to something if they're going to be around it. I know our canine handlers do it on LA, and they take them to the range and they'll just sit there, and they'll sit there for an hour, and they'll go during range qualification, a couple times a week, and just sit there. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm just getting my dog acclimated to the noise and the bang, because if we have to get into a shooting, I don't need my dog jerking out this way. I need my dog to stay in line and stay engaged. Yeah. So that's really cool. That's very smart, and that's really awesome. Now I got a question. You've been retired since 2019, and I know we were kind of talking about earlier, like seeing people out in town that you maybe have arrested, and then all of a sudden you're on alert, and you're always on duty when you're in law enforcement. But now being retired, do you still feel like you're on duty, or do you think that those people are, it's been a long enough time where you don't feel like you're on edge anymore?
Well, as I said, these people have long memories, right? But I would say the second half of my career was mostly as a trainer. So, we took part, like in the counter IED mission. We would go and support, a potential terrorist site, but usually we're handling the IED part, and I don't even see the person. So I won't say off the street, but it's been a while since I put handcuffs on anybody. We were doing more of the technical end of things for the last 15 or 20 years.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
You've had such an illustrious career in the FBI, which is kind of amazing. You don't hear too many people going into the FBI and having, or at least I haven't, and seeing what you've been doing. They haven't done what you've done, like I hear more about that like in the military and getting cool gigs in the military. You don't expect. I joined the FBI and then I went and traveled the world. It's not the Navy,
Yeah.
right?
I was
But
I was just fortunate, really, Chuck. It
oh
was
man,
nothing I
that's
did.
so
It was
awesome.
just
But
fortunate.
as we get ready to close out everything, I want to give you a chance to. Do you have? I know we talked earlier about a dedication. Do you have someone you'd like to dedicate this episode to?
Yeah. So Leonard W. Hatton, Lenny Hatton, former Marine, FBI bomb technician, ran in to help, and the trade centers collapsed on him. He died 9/11. Great guy. He died, doing the job. And I'll say also, we've lost more people to medical issues after 9/11 than were killed on the day of the attacks. So I think it's important that folks know. I was diagnosed with an exceptionally rare form of cancer 8 years after my ground zero deployment, and it was directly attributable. But I'm still here, thank God. We had a 6-hour surgery, and they took care of everything. But I know other agents that died not as Lenny did when the buildings collapsed, but succumbed to illness related to their deployments that day. So yes, it's just important to remember.
Wow. Well,
Thank you for
rest
that.
easy, brother. We've got it from here. Wow, that's touching. That sucks. Now, I always like to ask this at the end of every episode. Is there something that you could give advice to someone maybe who's in law enforcement or in the FBI, or someone who's trying to come on? Any advice for those people coming on or in?
I would just say aim high. If there's something you want to do, then get yourself straight and get it done. It's nothing comes to you. You've got to put yourself out there. But if you don't try, it's not going to happen. That first bomb tech I met at Waco, he said, we represent less than 2% of the FBI agents in the country. So pretty small group. But if you want to try, I'll help you. So, don't be put off if you're told, the odds are small or you might not get it, because if you don't try, you're definitely not going to get it.
Yeah. Well, great. In other words, have balls of steel.
You go.
Try to.
Try to.
Balls of steel.
So I just want to mention this one more time. Have balls of steel, and make sure you go to www.barryblackokc.com. Again, that is www.barryblackokc.com. So you can get his book. You can see what he has going on. He's also a public speaker. And if you're watching, this is what the website looks like. We already have it plugged in here. You can go to his website. Again, that's www.barryblackokc.com. It has links to Amazon where you can get his book, Hazardous Devices, a memoir of the FBI bomb technician, accountant, and sniper. It looks really awesome. That sounds like a great book to read. And, you can get in contact with Barry. He's a retired FBI master bomb technician, SWAT sniper, master instructor, and public speaker. So if you want to hear him speak, or if you're a law enforcement agency and you want to get some good training or pick his brain, he might be a good person to have at your function. Go here and you can get in contact with him. You can also get his book right here. Again, that's Hazardous Devices, a memoir.
And you can go directly on Amazon again, and that's Hazardous Devices by Barry Black.
That's awesome, guys. Thank you both very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being on. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Barry. It was a pleasure. Marco, thank you so much for coming on. And for everybody, thank you all today for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us on Instagram. I believe it's still War Stories. So I don't think that's changed. So it's at war_stories_official, and our Facebook at War Stories Podcast. I don't know if that's changed at all. If it hasn't, still go there. Make sure to check the link out in our bio to get on both platforms. You can stay informed. Check us out on YouTube. Hit that notification bell. and all that good jazz, so you can stay informed. Anytime we go live, it will give you a notification. You can also set those notifications up on Instagram and Facebook, and make sure to check us out on our LinkedIn, linkedin.com/War Stories Podcast. You can share your story there. You get in touch with Dylan, and if you've emailed if you've emailed the booking that's no longer in use anymore, please email or go to linkedin.com, and we're going to be giving out the emails for the Warlocker show. That's all changing, and we're going to be doing some giveaways and stuff here very shortly of all the old merchandise to give it away, or even offering at really low prices. And then we'll be moving to the new artwork with the new stuff. And again, check us out every Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for our live show, the Warlocker show, or the Warlocker live show. And thank you for the support. Stay safe. And until our next episode, come home with your shield or on it.